Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is I'll Call You Back, True Blue Unedited with
Izzy Martinez
and Cachita Lopez here, courtesy of CLR 154 on your Sirius XM dial. We have a very interesting topic for you guys today.
Yes, we do.
We're going to be talking about the City of Miami's COVID budget that was approved and passed, which includes police layoffs, transformed net, and canceled events.
Well,
Cuéntame.
yeah, well, I found out that the city of Miami is cutting back 67 police officers. And I believe it's like any officer that has 2 years or less, their job is on the line. So is it concerning? It's extremely concerning because it's not the 67 officers that they're going to cut. The question that the citizens of the city of Miami need to ask the chief of police and the mayor is how many officers were they down prior to the cuts? Because if they were down 400 officers, now they're 467 officers.
And it's a total of 175 positions.
Exactly.
From the city's workforce, which is only like 4,000 people, because it's also not like we're not taking that from 1 million jobs, we're taking that from just 4,000 jobs.
Correct.
I believe the total amount of the budget cut is $1 billion.
Yep.
It closes the mini dump to the public, cancels a ton of cultural events. It transforms neighborhood administrative centers into outposts for district commissioners. And what upsets me the most is that this budget has been passed unanimously. So this raises so many red flags because we're talking about cutting 100 jobs from, let me see here, public safety jobs. That includes firefighters.
Correct.
Ladies and gentlemen, that includes firefighters and police officers, the people that are here to protect us and to save us. How are we cutting back on this?
Well, what they really need to do is, and I was in the county for 30 years. It's really simple. Can you imagine me as a police officer, as an undercover, when I used to work undercover, that I had a situation where somebody put a price on my head many, many years ago. I didn't have a bodyguard. I didn't have a sergeant at arms. So why does some of these mayors have
and some commissioners
3, 4, 5 drivers, but they're armed? And those are the same ones that are going to cut it. They're cutting the budget. The ones that carry around a person to drive him around, and they call him the driver. That's not a driver. That's a bodyguard. You know that person's
and their
do everything for
person.
you.
But you know what? Those pay cuts are not going to affect them.
Oh no, it's not. Because
it's not going to affect them.
Those people, and I'm not trying to put those people down. They have a great job, and they have a job to do. However, how can you take officers off the streets to go and tell me that you need to do so when you have positions that are duplicated 3 and 4 times? Why do you need 3, 4, 5 sergeant at arms around you to protect you? Buy a gun. Do the same thing the police officers do when they're off duty and they confront someone they've arrested before. Okay? They grab their family and they walk away and they try to go to, away from this individual. And at times, you have to get into it with that person that your family needs to be away from you, not in the middle of this. You have no bodyguards. You have no sergeant at arms. Nobody's there to protect you. The only thing you have is a gun and a badge. Why can't these politicians do the same? And they're going to tell you, because we don't like guns. That's what they're going to say. Well, go to a karate school and learn karate or something. But why do they have to cut these? And mind you, keep in mind, these are 67 police officers, supposedly. Where are they going to go work? Because everybody else is doing this pretty much the same thing. Cutting back just to make everybody happy. Hey, we're cutting back on police officers. Are you guys happy? No, we're still not happy. They're never going to be happy. You can cut back billions of dollars. It's like we discussed before, you and I, Kachi. You can put all the training you want into these police departments. And what really needs to be done is go into the communities, talk to these people, walk with these people, Instead of training the police, because the police are trained, and there's no training for split-second decisions. There is not one single training that you can do that can help you with that. I just don't know. I mean, City of Miami is one. I have no idea how many the county. I guarantee you Miami-Dade County is right behind them because the mayor thinks the same way. He was a firefighter, supposedly, and he is one that does not support the fire department nor the police department, more the police departments. He don't support them. I just don't get it. And it's not a matter of supporting bad people. They're supporting the people that are protecting this community. And they lie to the community. Like we discussed before, we have 50 cadets ready to graduate and ready to go fight crime. Yeah, but tell the people that you're down 500 officers.
And then you tell them, hey, you know what? We got to, of what those 50, well, actually, we're going to hire 100 of you guys, and then we're going to fire 67 of you.
And on top of that, come a certain date, there's an academy right now that just retired, a 30-year academy. So if you put in 50 officers, it's really simple. This is a real simple math. You put in 50 officers and 100 retire, do the math. And that's exactly what happens. Instead of hiring more cops, that's what they do. And they when was the last time that you were out on the road, you personally? Now, you remember back years ago, you used to drive around and go, ooh, they stopped somebody there. Look, there's 2 or 3 cops.
Yeah.
Ooh, they stopped somebody there. Whether
That's
it
true.
was Florida Highway Patrol, anybody, it's not that they're scared to stop people. They're concerned about stopping people that something might go wrong and they might be the next person to be indicted or fired. But that's not the reason. There's no cops on the road. And the little cops that they're out there, they know that if they do a traffic stop, for example, that takes them away from backing up another fellow officer down the street. So they won't do traffic stop and they stand by just waiting to see the next call. And people don't understand that. They need to come and tell the people the truth and learn about these politicians that are lying to the community, because they are lying to the community. I mean, trust me, I worked public corruption for 10 years, which is investigating politicians, and that'll be another show. Trust me when I tell you.
I think that's going to be a series of shows.
Yeah, that'll be like a TV series.
It's going to be a total
We can do
series
several shows on those. Yeah.
on the public corruption in this town. This is just insane.
I mean, just
I'm still
picture
here.
that.
You know what? I'm totally appalled. I am totally appalled that this would be passed unanimously. I understand that the city has lost much revenue due to the whole COVID-19 pandemic, as has everyone in the world, because it has affected quite literally everyone. But I don't think that pulling wages from our police officers and our first responders, that's going to resolve anything. On the contrary, it's going to put us at a bigger loss, and it's just appalling, honestly.
Well, think about this. They cut the budget, right? And who cuts the budget is the politicians.
But the civilians are the ones affected, and the police are the
absolutely.
ones affected.
But-
Now you're saying that with these budget cuts, it increases the detectives' workloads,
Right.
because now there's less cops to do the work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
But also, hurry on up, because we're not going to pay you this additional time. So work faster on these investigations, which is impossible.
Which you cannot. There's a procedure. There's a protocol on all the cases, especially when you've been around for a while and you work one certain type of case. You know that case is going to take a certain amount of time to figure out whether you have a case or you don't have a case. And you cannot. Sometimes you can do things to speed it up. For one, I would not take shortcuts, because then the one that pays the price is me sitting on the stand testifying, and the politician saying, "Ooh, he lied. He did this. He did." No, I would not do that. But let me give you another example. The politicians cut the budget, correct? Mm-hmm. They're the same politicians that allowed for 4 police vehicles to be burned down to the ground and the rioters to express themselves. They were rioters. They were not demonstrators. They were rioters. And they burned down, how much is 4 police cars? How much is that?
That I'm not sure, but I'm sure it's worth
Yeah.
a significant amount.
Sure, and that well, the police cars And what was the budget for repairing the city after they did what they did? And be glad they didn't go into the city of Miami police department and hurt some of the officers inside, or burn down that police department, their headquarters. That's ridiculous. And those are the same politicians sitting there going, well, just let them vent. Vent what? And then you're going to cut the salaries, and you're going to cut back jobs of the police officers, the firefighters? Because now it's not only for the police. Now they're attacking fire trucks, and they're breaking fire trucks. You don't think those are a little bit more expensive than even a police car?
Okay, that makes no sense at all whatsoever.
At all.
Like, who can have an issue with our firefighters? It is impossible.
Yeah.
It has no explanation at all whatsoever.
We discussed it before. If we're going to sit here, we're going to say it's a black and white issue. Perfect. Why are you killing black cops?
I'm gonna go a step further. Let's pull aside the whole cop situation. Okay, let's not look at it, as this is who we're gonna attack, because we've already talked on various occasions why people may have a negative feeling towards police officers, why they may feel afraid. All those scenarios that we discussed of children being brought up by parents who are negligent, by parents who are in drugs, by parents that are in crime, and those first experiences with police officers, which generally are very negative situations, and experiences for them that may traumatize you. So let's pull away the police officers. Who can feel any sort of way towards our firefighters?
No one.
No one. I mean, it's impossible.
There are heroes.
I mean,
because when I get shot,
it's like
when
I
get stabbed, that's who's going to save my life.
It's like a doctor. How are you going to get mad at a doctor inside of like a surgeon? No, dude, your job is to save lives.
Well, let me throw a curveball at you. Who's going to get upset at a teacher? Are there
true.
good teachers?
They're
Yes.
amazing
Are there bad
teachers.
teachers?
Yes.
Absolutely. I knew a few growing up. But can you get upset at a teacher? Got to deal with your little devil who happens to be a saint at home.
Yeah.
And has to deal with that little devil for X amount of hours.
Not just yours, though.
Oh, no, well, times 30.
Times 30.
Correct. So
Yeah.
that teacher has to deal with 30 kids, which to their parents, they're little saints, and to the rest of the people, some of them, not all,
know the truth.
are little devils, and I know because I was one. But I'm going to tell you right now, teachers, how can you be upset at teachers?
Well,
I'm going to tell you what's coming. I'm going to predict something. Maybe I'm wrong. They're going to figure out a way how to do this Zoom type thing with a whole bunch of kids, and they can figure that one teacher can handle 60 kids, 80 kids, 100 kids, and they're going to cut back on the teachers. And that is totally ridiculous. I have a story, by the way.
We've been defunding education for
years,
decades.
of course.
Okay, for decades. But I will tell you this: as soon as we come back, we're going to be touching up on the subject of this, the new schools that have opened. And I have a lot of feedback because I have a lot of friends that are teachers, and they are not happy with these openings.
I have a lot of friend teachers too.
I don't want to say that our teachers are afraid of having to teach under these conditions of a pandemic, but rather they're not being supported. The teachers have to provide their own PPE. They don't have sanitizer. This is tough. You're bringing in 30 children to a restricted area. All of these schools, their AC system is connected. So it's like one germ travels here, it travels everywhere.
But that's nothing new for teachers too. I mean,
but they haven't been dealing with it with a pandemic.
Well, let me ask you this.
That's the thing.
The typical yearly flu, it used to cover. It used to cover all these schools, and there were teachers that got sick. There were kids that got sick, so on and so forth. I know this is a little bit different, because it's the COVID-19. Do you know why they call it the COVID-19, right?
No, I don't.
Because there's 19 different types, I believe,
of strands.
So if you pick up a strand it is not the real hard one, tough one, whatever you want to call it, you will test positive. That's another show. That will be another show, because that is also something that we need to discuss a little bit. But the teachers, staying on the teachers' topic, the teachers are always put back. Always in the back burner.
We have no problem
And that's
defunding our
ridiculous.
teachers.
Ridiculous.
And they're the ones that are there every day, raising our kids, taking care of them, preparing them for, to be actual civilized human beings and be, positive people in our society. And it's just disheartening to see how easily people don't think about it twice to defund schools, to defund all these programs. And it's just, I don't know what we're going to do.
As we discussed the police department, you don't think within the school board there are positions that are
of course,
non-essential,
of course,
that are there, and I can understand somebody that has maybe a year to retire, and they did their time, and they did their 24 years or 29 years. In my case, was 30 years, and that last year you pretty much just relax and try to get caught up on all your paperwork, blah, 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 and all that. But let me ask you this. When was the last time the county went position by position? And if you do that, realize that firefighters, teachers, and police are the last one to be analyzed, because there's no way you can justify analyzing them first. But
No,
guess
of
what the
course.
politicians do?
That's what they do.
Because that is the vote. That
is what they
that's
do,
what
and
the
they
vote
also
causes.
what kills me.
Flavor of the day, I call it.
What kills me is that you have a lot of these politicians who, and I have no problem with the folks that have worked their way up, that have been in the county, a million years. I respect them. Congratulations, kudos, that's fantastic. Your seniority allows you and your experience to enjoy a different pay grade, and that's what you work for. But I do think a lot of these positions need caps, because it's gotten to a point where I don't think that a clerical position should surpass, let's say, $60,000.
And if it does, it surpasses the police department.
Then that's
Fire.
that's my problem.
Teachers.
Where you have chiefs of staff that are seldom in the office. This is from personal experience. That are seldom in the office, and they're getting paid with taxpayer dollars $120,000, $130,000 a year.
And it's not the sergeant at arms.
Exactly. We're talking about, this is the person.
It's not really going after the sergeant at arms here.
No,
Let's get
no,
that
no, no,
straight.
no.
We're going after the politician with a great idea that they need to have 3, 4, and 5 sergeant at arms.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So there we're justifying spending all these dollars, and we're taking it away from our community.
Absolutely.
We're taking away from protecting our civilians. We're taking it away from what we need to be doing.
Correct.
To fill a position in an office, which makes no damn sense at all whatsoever in my book. I may sound ignorant, I may seem whatever, but that's my opinion.
The public, the community should, tell the politicians, because, okay, let's get one thing straight. I remember something that I'm going to cover in the next segment
Okay.
after we come back.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is I'll Call You Back, True Blue Unedited, with Izzy Martinez and Cachita Lopez on CLR 154 Sirius XM. See you then.
Mi mujer no se levanta de la cama sin 2 cafés, hechos por mí, por supuesto. Le pregunté cuál es de la casa el mejor café y me dijo, sinceramente, Cachita. Pruébenlo. Y después me dice, salud, con Cachita.
Hay ropa bonita aquí. Señor, me hace el favor.
Dígame. Tony con Alejo. Tú en una tienda de ropa de mujeres.
Bueno, porque estoy comprándole a una dama para hacerle un regalo.
Ay, qué casualidad. Yo también estoy tratando de comprarle a una dama para ver si me dice que sí, porque cuando hay ropa buena no hay que se resista a decirte que no.
Bueno, pues tú sabes que yo nunca me imaginé que aquí en el medio de default me iba a encontrar con Alejo.
No es default, es hollarse.
Hollarse está en default.
Usted me desfolca, pero es hollar. ¡Oh, ya sé! ¡En default!
¿En default?
¿De verdad que sí?
¿Hollarse?
En default.
Señorita, ¿usted me ayuda?
Te ayuda a lo que está más perdido. Hollarse. No hay más nada.
¡Ay! ¿Y eso qué fue? ¡Ay, me dieron por detrás! ¡Ay, no, espérate un momento! Me voy a ver ahora. ¡Ay! ¡Ay, qué mala suerte! ¡Ay! ¿Y yo dónde estoy? ¿Esto es el paraíso?
No, estás en Your Care Health Network.
Avanza con el pie derecho con Your Care Health Network.
Aquí no le cambiamos su suerte, pero resolvemos todos los problemas de su accidente.
Accidentado, recompensado.
La martelo
¡Ey!
¡Ay, qué sorpresa!
Y me sorprendiste tú a mí porque yo estaba buscando un regalo para ti, ya que me dijiste que te gustaban mucho las pipas.
Sí,
Adivina cuál te quiero regalar.
¿Cuál me quieres
El del pollito.
¡Oh, qué tierno!
Le quiero regalar el del pollito. Porque se parece a él. Mírale el piquito.
¡Oh, qué chulo!
Como ese piquito que tienes ahí.
Señor, esta es la tienda donde compran los artistas, los deportistas y tú que eres VIP también. Fog Nation. ¿Lo digo?
Con G. Fog.
Ahí está. Mira la careta esa. Uy.
Esas son para ahorita, para la cuarentena, para la pandemia. ¿Quieres una? ¿Quieres ponerte una?
Me vendría bien esa cara. Mira, ve, ya empezó
Con
a
esa
tirarme.
cara le vendría bien una de esas. Él mismo lo dijo. Él mismo lo dijo.
Este es mi Rolex. Y aquí en Grimal Joyería le subimos el precio a tu Rolex con un bisel de brillantes.
Le estamos enseñando los tres biseles diferentes, biseles de $7,000, $3,000 y $2,500 con la esfera de diamante, que ya cuando tú sumas todo eso más el reloj, estamos hablando ya casi $29,000. Por ejemplo, este mismo reloj puede costar ahora mismo, vamos a decir, $7,500. Si le ponemos un bisel como este que tenemos aquí en mis manos, estamos hablando ya de $11,500. Esto es un reloj 36 milímetros, si le ponemos este bisel ya estamos hablando 40 milímetros.
Wow. Grimal Joyería. Lo demás es bobería.
Ay, Dayamisi, yo te estaba buscando en mi vida. Me dijeron que tú eres la mejor para cotizarme un seguro para mi carro.
Claro que sí, aquí en Diamond Insurance te vamos a hacer una cotización que se ajuste a tu bolsillo y a tus necesidades de seguro.
Ay, mi vida, y con lo caro que están los seguros en la Florida.
Han subido, pero un poquito, pero no te preocupes, nosotros aquí tenemos muchos años trabajando todo el estado con muchas compañías.
Ay, eso es lo que yo necesito. ¿Y qué tengo que hacer? ¿Cómo compro mi póliza?
Nada, con una simple llamada, un mensaje de texto, un email, cotizamos tu póliza completamente gratis y en minutos, porque somos la manera más fácil para asegurarte.
Dayami, aquí, entre tú y yo. ¿Tú sí me vas a contestar?
Claro que sí, nosotros siempre contestamos.
Ay, ¿verdad que un diamante es un diamante? Con Diamond Insurance me siento asegurado.
Segura que sí.
Una flor en la ocasión especial puede hacer la diferencia.
Bueno, cuando las personas vienen a una floristería, tienen múltiples opciones para una persona que está en un hospital, para una persona que ha fallecido, conquistar a una mujer, disculparnos.
Si usted se quiere disculpar porque metió la pata la semana pasada, venga aquí a Cerezo Flower. Ya sabes, 1721 Southwest, 32 Avenida, marca el teléfono 786-326-4412. Haz la diferencia con la persona que tú amas. una flor.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on back. This is I'll Call You Back, True Blue Unedited with
Izzy Martinez.
and Cachita Lopez here on CLR 154 on your Sirius XM dial. So, Izzy, we were talking about our teachers.
Yes.
And you had an interesting scenario you wanted to talk about.
Well, see, this is the way I see it. My job, or our job, is really not to defend or to judge police, fire, politicians, teachers. But I'm here to tell you that within the 30 years, I learned a lot about the political side of the police department. And that's what I want to put out there. Because not only for the officers that are still in there, but for the community, so they understand pretty much how it works. Because a lot of the times they don't get the right information.
Okay.
We're talking about defunding police, firing police, and all that good stuff that 2020 is bringing, right? God forbid.
Sidebar. I was reading this morning. This is a really funny sidebar. They were opening a coffin, a mummy coffin, that had been closed off 2,500 years ago. And today was the day that they chose to open this sarcophagus.
Great.
And I'm like, we can't wait until like 2021 for this because that's the last thing we need, Tomb Raider.
Exactly.
Literally happening.
Yeah.
But let's go back to your tears.
I'm telling you,
And
it would
get
not shock
2020.
me. But let's think about this. As citizens of Miami-Dade County, all right, and all the other counties within the state of Florida that goes through similar situations, we cut back on funding for the police, and they applaud them, and they're so happy about that, and you're doing the right thing. Then they cut back and they fire, let's say 67, like the information that I got. 67 officers from the city of Miami. God knows how many are going to get fired from all the other departments. But as a total, let's figure out how many they're going to fire. Let me throw a curveball that I hate to throw at you because it is something that touches every community. I want to know, in Miami-Dade County, and I'm just talking about one county, if there's an active shooter in one of these schools, how many, how fast, okay? And how many officers are out there to respond to this? And they're going to tell you, we have a rapid response team that responds within what? Within what? Sometimes you have two officers, covering one whole area. And one day we'll get into areas and we'll break it down. And I'll tell you how many square miles is one area. Sometimes it's a lot. Florida Highway Patrol is another one. They might have a traffic stop on the turnpike off of Quail Roost, and his backup is in Key Largo or Fort Lauderdale or Pompano. Now picture that one. And there they get backed up by the city and the county municipalities and so on and so forth. But imagine an active shooter, which God forbid happens here in Dade County, and it can happen here in Dade County. People think that, it's not going to happen here. It happens somewhere else. The typical thing, right? It could happen here. Now let me ask you, how many officers are going to be able to respond to this, and how many can respond within a reasonable amount of time? And if they do what they want to do, which is pretty much have rubber bullets, issue rubber bullets to the police department, because there's a movement for that. Imagine you get into an active shooter who has a gun, who is a criminal, and you have rubber bullets, and you don't have an AR-15, a shotgun, or something that you can engage this individual. Which also brings another good point. You go inside, you engage that person, and we discussed it before. And God forbid again, you shoot an innocent person inside that school. You're done.
Well,
So
we were talking about that officer that many people called a coward.
Yeah.
Because he was following protocol.
He was.
And he was following his protocol.
At the beginning he did. I don't know what he did at the end. Now, if more officers were on the scene and he refused to go inside, then we're talking about a totally different story. But if he waited for the other 2 officers to get there to do the diamond formation, which is what they taught us at the beginning, and people say, oh, but that wasn't in place. No, that was in place. They changed it right after that. I mean, I think within 24 hours, everybody was like, oh, no more diamond formation. You don't wait. We don't wait for the other 2 officers. First officer on the scene, go in, engage, and neutralize the situation. It's easier said than done. Now, picture this. SWAT teams, or SRT in our case, they are prepared and they are equipped. For them, it's not an easy task. Can you picture an officer outside with rubber bullets and no weapon of, high-powered weapon to engage this individual and go in there? That's pretty much suicide. Just go in there and just, you know what? Shoot me. Don't shoot the kids. Don't shoot the teachers.
No, that's the thing.
Just go ahead and
because
kill me.
He'll kill the cops and then
He's
he'll
gonna
kill
the rest
everyone
of the
else.
people. And these politicians will sit there and they play these little games and they always have a very nice, sweet answer and they come out and people buy it. I mean, my family buys it. And we sit down around the table and some of my family members, they'll tell you, did you hear what happened? Oh, yeah. Well, don't you think the police is, they're too well armed? And are you kidding me? All right. We should have tanks out there. Go work a shift with a cop in the right area at the right time with the right cop. All right. And you're going to have your eyes open.
I've said that a million times when it comes to gun control, and I have a lot of friends that are pro gun control, and I'm pro gun. I'm pro gun. I think that perhaps we can increase our screening process.
Absolutely.
And
We discussed that.
There's,
Yeah.
the whole problem with HIPAA or whatever, but I do feel that there should be some mental screenings. But when you really sit down and you analyze the majority of the guns used in crimes, these are not weapons that are acquired the legal way. So the moment that you put even more restrictions on the people like me that are willing to go through a mental screening, a psych screening, whatever I may need to be able to get a weapon, if you further limit me from being able to protect myself at any given moment,
Yeah.
it just creates the perfect environment
Right.
for those criminals to take advantage of, because they're not going through that process. They're
Right.
not getting not getting their fingerprints. They're not waiting for the state to approve them. They're not waiting for any of that.
Right. So if you have somebody in a car or in a truck, running people over that are in the middle of the street as protesters, right? What are you going to do? You're going to ban vehicles? What about knives?
But that happened. That's actually a case that I told a friend of mine about. There was this crazy guy who actually drove his truck into a playground. This was a few years back in Boston, if I'm not mistaken. What are you going to do? You're going to take away everyone's license?
Yeah, you have to.
You're going to take away everyone's, everyone's truck?
Sure.
No.
What about knives?
Knives is another one.
I've always been pretty decent with a knife. And the reason is because sometimes I don't want to carry.
Me for cooking. That's it.
I can use a knife.
I can't.
But the problem is you got to train for it and you got to know how to use it and you got to be able to carry. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to ban knives? You're going to ban that too? And if you stop somebody with a box cutter and the guy works at a warehouse, what are you going to do? You're going to arrest him?
I mean, when someone wants to commit a crime, they will find anything within reach and turn that into a weapon.
Absolutely. That happens every day.
So it's not a matter of, I've seen people, I recall I was at a bakery midday having a snack. And next door, there was a restaurant that had like a little billiards thing. Of course, Hialeah, we mix everything together. It's beautiful. And these two guys get into this altercation. And all of a sudden, the guy comes out with the pool stick.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Pool cue, sure.
the pool cue,
Yeah.
and like hits the guy on the lomo on his back. And I was like, well, if you want to make anything a weapon, you will make
Ban
anything
pool.
a
Yeah.
weapon.
No pool tables in Hialeah anymore because
Yep.
that's ridiculous. I mean, I'm a law-abiding citizen. You're a law-abiding citizen.
Yep.
I have, there's, in my family, no one in my family has gone to jail for any violent related crimes.
I love how you specified that.
I'm good. I'm a politician.
I love
See,
how
that's
you
what politicians
specified
do.
that. No one in my family's gone to jail for violent related crimes.
You know-
Dot.
You know, I don't want to get into the politics, the current politics, but you're not going to believe what I was watching last night with a group of friends at a cigar shop.
What were you
And I was
watching?
trying to prove a point, and I'll tell you what the point was. I was watching Malcolm X,
Okay.
one of his speeches.
Mhm.
And my favorite is when he says that he does, he differentiates between the wolf and the fox. That he says there's a big difference between the wolf and the fox, because the fox, and I'm not going to get into who he said the fox was or who he said the wolf was, but he says pretty much the fox will show its teeth and make you believe that it's smiling. The wolf, you always know where the wolf is coming from. He's coming to attack. And that is a great thing, because I'm here to tell you, these guys out there with guns, they don't buy them at the gun shop.
Exactly.
They break into houses and they take them. And then they say, yeah, but see, that's a problem, because people have guns in their houses, and when they break in, put them in a safe. Put an alarm in the house. I mean, in my house, for you to get a gun is good luck.
Good luck.
But I am pro-gun,
Mhm.
okay? But going back to the other issue, you attack, not you yourself, but I'm saying people attack the NRA and the Second Amendment, right?
Mhm.
So why don't they try to pick on HIPAA? Because if you want a gun, which I don't have a problem with, and you are under any type of psychiatric treatment, you should not be able to own a gun, right?
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
So there should be a form that before you get a gun, a rifle, a shotgun, whatever it is, you have to either take it to your doctor, you have your doctor sign off that you're not in any type of medication, blah, blah, and that you're giving up the HIPAA rights in order to buy the gun. Because I don't have a problem with them talking to my doctor.
Agreed.
I don't care about HIPAA. I'm an open book.
Agreed.
But the bottom line is, why don't they do that? Oh no, we did a background check. Yeah, you did a background check. The guy's not a criminal. No, he has mental issues, but he's not a criminal. And there's a big difference between mental issues and a criminal.
Yes, totally.
So they go, let's go after the guns. Okay, go after the guns. But why don't you go after the people that want to buy the guns and say, hey, listen, you want the gun? It's really simple. You fill out the form. You have your doctor sign off. They're going to say, yeah, but then I'm going to have to pay the doctor. Do you want a gun? Okay.
You go ahead and you pay it.
And then that form can stay in a file for a certain amount of time. And then if you don't buy a gun within, I say, 2 years or whatever they want to put a cap on it, then that's fine. After that, you have to get another form. But for now, you're good. Why don't they do that? You know why? Because they know that they're not going to fight and win against HIPAA law. They're not. And that's a big problem that I have.
So they would rather, try to restrict gun owners even more.
Well, think about it. If they go after the gun owner, if they go after the gun, they're going after Second Amendment. If they go after HIPAA, okay, they're not going after Second Amendment with HIPAA. So it's a harder fight that they're not going to fight. They're going to fight for you to give up your arms, for you to make it as hard as possible for you to buy a gun. And I haven't met a person yet that is a law-abiding citizen that just got up one day and say, today I'm going to be a criminal. I'm just going to do whatever it is that criminals do, and I'm going to do it because I have a gun.
Talking on that subject, we were when we started this segment, we were talking about the hypothetical active shooter scenario.
Yeah.
Right. And I asked you a question on the break because I really didn't know how that works. If the school police are responsible to respond, if county police, you told me everyone.
Everybody goes. Municipalities.
Everybody.
If it's in the county, if it's in the city, everybody goes.
Everybody
It's
goes.
like a mutual aid thing. You know,
Okay.
everybody goes.
But is that like protocol or that's just?
I think it's protocol.
It's
I mean,
protocol.
remember, I've been retired for 2.5 years, but I'm pretty sure it's protocol that everybody goes. I don't think that, let's say if it's in a city, that the city has to request the county to respond, so on and so forth. Once that goes through the communications, if I'm right, it goes through communication and they patch all the municipalities and all the cities to let them know they have an active shooter in such and such location. And remember, the reason they do the uniform type training, which everything is the same, is because everybody's trained the same. So when we get there, the only difference is the color of the uniform. Some are brown and some are blue.
But the
They can
training's
be
the
green,
same.
but the training is the same. And everybody pretty much, back in the day when there was the diamond formation, which was 3 officers in order to enter, if I got there before and a city officer got there, that was my second guy. And let's say a Florida, one of those
Highway Patrol.
highway patrol, they come along, that's my third person.
That's your third guy.
Because everybody knew what to do. Everybody had the diamond formation training and they knew what to do, which I think should be done in the whole entire nation. It should be one way so that could, it work out. But I'm going to tell you right now that if that happens here, I want to see the response. I want to see how many officers respond. Back years and years and years ago, I'm not that old. I just turned 35, but
Plus, 35 plus.
so many, many moons ago, I can tell you right now that if an active shooter was in a school and an off-duty officer, a retired officer, anybody that was in law enforcement, you will have a stack of people outside going, we want to go in, we want to do this. Now, mind you, back in those days, we didn't have that whole situation with the active shooter. It was very, now it's like I say, the flavor of the day where you have copycats and they try to do
Which
that.
is intense. But then we were also talking about the whole liability issue.
Liability is a problem.
That's a big problem.
Because if an off-duty officer goes to the scene and is told, go ahead and go in, all right?
They're being covered by their
Who's covering them?
by their department.
Well,
if they tell
who's
them
covering them?
if they tell them to go in
But
and
that's
they're
another
off duty,
thing.
they're still they're
Because
active.
you get there in the heat of the moment, a sergeant, lieutenant, captain, whoever's there says, go, and you go in. And later on, they said, I never told that person that. I never told him to go in. I'm going to tell you, you can sue me, you can fire me, you can arrest me, indict me, whatever you want to do, I'm going in. I'm not like a hero trying to save the day. But when those kids are inside there, and especially the kids, I am going to go inside the school. I am going to try to take that person out. I understand that they want to have also control. If you have a lot of plainclothes officers, that could cause a confusion. So anybody going in to those, especially in those training, you got to have some type of raid jacket, vest, or something that says police.
something to
Because
identify you.
that can also get into a little problem. Not just the vest. The vest's got to be identified as a police officer. Because the bad guy might have a vest. Because they get vests too. They get helmets. And they get all the tactical stuff that our SWAT teams sometimes have trouble purchasing because there's no budget. Well, they get it. Sometimes those bad guys get it. So it's not that I'm waiting and I don't want that to ever happen. But if it does happen, trust me when I tell you, we'll be here analyzing, all right, and dissecting everything that happened. And I want to see the response, not of the first officer, of all the officers, or a lot of officers to that scene, and who was on duty. And mind you, when they all go there, the streets are now unprotected because they're all in one location, in one school.
You remember a few years back we had an active shooter at the Fort Lauderdale International Airport.
I
Remember that? That was
that.
like that was a few years ago. I want to
Yeah,
say
let's
that
get
was
into that.
2016. When we come back, we'll talk
When we
about
come
it.
back, we'll go ahead and get back into that one. That was a good topic too.
Ladies
Awesome.
and gentlemen, this is I'll Call You Back True Blue Unedited with Izzy Martinez and Cachita Lopez on CLR 154 on your Sirius XM dial. We're here courtesy of Cachita Latina Radio.
See you then.
Miami se despierta con una coladita y yo con mi café Cachita. Es mejor para compartir mi vida. Qué bueno es todo, qué malo es nada. Por eso yo prefiero café Cachita.
No hay ropa bonita aquí. Señor, me hace el favor. Me hace el favor.
Dígame. Tony Conté.
¡Alejo!
Tú en una tienda de ropa de mujeres.
Bueno, porque estoy comprándole a una dama para hacerle un regalo.
Ay, qué casualidad. Yo también estoy tratando de comprarle a una dama para ver si me dice que sí, porque cuando hay ropa buena no hay quien se resista a decirte que no.
Bueno, pero tú sabes que yo nunca me imaginé que aquí en el medio de default me iba a encontrar con Alejo.
No es default, es hollarse.
Hollarse está en default.
Usted me desfolca, pero es olla. ¡Oh, ya sé! ¡En default!
¿En default?
¿De verdad que sí?
¿Hollarse?
En default.
Señorita, ¿usted me ayuda?
Te ayuda a lo que está más pedido. Hollarse. No hay más nada.
¡Ay! ¿Y eso qué fue? ¡Ay, me dieron por detrás! ¡Ay, no, espérate un momento! ¡Me voy a ver ahora! ¡Ay! ¡Ay, qué mala suerte! ¡Ay! ¿Y yo dónde estoy? ¿Esto es el paraíso?
No, estás en Your Care Health Network.
Avanza con el pie derecho con Your Care Health Network.
Aquí no le cambiamos su suerte, pero resolvemos todos los problemas de su accidente.
Accidentado, recompensado.
La Martelo aquí.
¡Ey!
¡Ay, qué sorpresa!
Y me sorprendiste tú a mí porque yo estaba buscando un regalo para ti, ya que me dijiste que te gustaban mucho las pipas.
Sí,
Adivina cuál te quiero regalar.
¿Cuál me quieres
El
regalar?
del pollito.
¡Oh, qué tierno!
Le quiero regalar el del pollito. Porque se parece a él. Mírale el piquito.
¡Oh, qué chulo!
Como ese piquito que tienes ahí.
Señor, esta es la tienda donde compran los artistas, los deportistas y tú que eres VIP también. Fog Nation. ¿Lo dije
Con
bien?
G. Fog.
Ahí está. Mira la careta esa. Uy.
Esas son para ahorita, para la cuarentena, para la pandemia. ¿Quieres una? ¿Quieres ponerte una?
Me vendría bien esa cara. Mira, ve, ya empezó
Con
a
esa
tirarme.
cara le vendría bien una de esas. Él mismo lo dijo. Él mismo lo dijo.
Este es mi Rolex. Y aquí en Grimán Joyería le subimos el precio a tu Rolex con un bisel de brillantes.
Le estamos enseñando los tres biseles diferentes, biseles de $7,000, $3,000 y $2,500 con la esfera de diamante, que ya cuando tú sumas todo eso más el reloj, estamos hablando ya casi $29,000. Por ejemplo, este mismo reloj puede costar ahora mismo, vamos a decir, $7,500. Si le ponemos un bisel como este que tenemos aquí en mis manos, estamos hablando ya de $11,500. Esto es un reloj 36 milímetros, si le ponemos este bisel ya estamos hablando 40 milímetros.
Wow. Grimán Joyería. Lo demás es bobería.
Ay, Dayami, si yo te estaba buscando mi vida. Me dijeron que tú eres la mejor para cotizarme un seguro para mi carro.
Claro que sí, aquí en Diamond Insurance te vamos a hacer una cotización que se ajuste a tu bolsillo y a tus necesidades de seguro.
Ay, mi vida, y con lo caro que están los seguros en la Florida.
Han subido, pero un poquito, pero no te preocupes, nosotros aquí tenemos muchos años trabajando todo el estado con muchas compañías.
Ay, eso es lo que yo necesito. ¿Y qué tengo que hacer? ¿Cómo compro mi póliza?
Nada, con una simple llamada, un mensaje de texto, un email, cotizamos tu póliza completamente gratis y en minutos, porque somos la manera más fácil para asegurarte.
Dayami, aquí, entre tú y yo. ¿Tú sí me vas a contestar?
Claro que sí, nosotros siempre contestamos.
Ay, ¿verdad que un diamante es un diamante? Con Diamond Insurance me siento asegurado.
Segura que sí.
Una flor en la ocasión especial puede hacer la diferencia.
Bueno, cuando las personas vienen a una floristería, tienen múltiples opciones para una persona que está en un hospital, para una persona que ha fallecido, conquistar a una mujer, disculparnos.
Si usted se quiere disculpar porque metió la pata la semana pasada, venga aquí a Cerezo Flower. Ya sabes, 1721 Southwest, 32 Avenida, marca el teléfono 786-326-4412. Haz la diferencia con la persona que tú amas. Una flor.
Mi mujer no se levanta de la cama sin 2 cafés. Hecho por mí, por supuesto. Le pregunté cuál es de la casa el mejor café. Y me dijo, sinceramente, Cachita. Pruébenlo. Y después me dice, salud, con Cachita.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is I'll Call You Back, True Blue Unedited with
Izzy Martinez
and Cachita Lopez here on CLR 154 Sirius XM, courtesy of Cachita Latina Radio. Izzy, we were talking about all of these in the previous segment. We were talking about a ton of different scenarios, and we were talking about an active shooter scenario.
Yep.
And all of the liabilities involved with that. And one of the things we were talking about was a response team. Why don't you tell us about what can happen when our officers are, let's say, in plain clothes or they aren't wearing actual gear that identifies them?
Well, just keep in mind that the SWAT team, it is the perfect scenario for those situations. They are equipped and armed to deal with those types of situations. They have the hostage negotiators, and they're able to negotiate with this individual if you want to talk on the phone, and so on and so forth. We're not. When we were on the job, we either go in there and took care of it, and so on and so forth. The problem is that the SWAT team does not drive around town waiting for that call to come out. They're usually stationed in one area of the county in their facility, and when they're called out, they grab the truck and they head out to with escorts.
So there is a chance that they will not be the first responders on site. Okay, now
they will take over. Once they get there, they're probably going to take over, and then all the other officers become take secondary positions, which is outer perimeter.
Okay.
When SWAT teams go in, a lot of people hear shots fired. Everybody wants to rush in because shots fired. When the SWAT team is there and shots are fired, you do not go inside unless you are told go inside. Something is terribly wrong.
Now, all right, in this type of situation, you also have all of this stuff, all of this tactical gear is available for sale.
Yes.
So,
it has to be.
Hypothetically speaking, your active shooter could be not just armed, but they could actually be in tactical gear, very similar to
No,
what...
it's a matter of fact. It is extremely, extremely, extremely easy for him or her to obtain, because now you got to say him or her so you don't offend people and people don't get upset.
Although the majority of active shooters have been males, but go ahead.
Wow. But that is true. So the other thing is this. They are able to purchase vests, shirts, masks, gloves, and shoes or
Helmets,
boots. Look
everything.
just like a SWAT. And they're very easy to put on police in the front and the back. Buy a helmet. You can buy a helmet on one of those websites from China, and they send they send you the helmet. All you do is you put police on it, and you confuse the heck out of everybody. Because even if you are not in this, even if that person, the active shooter, is not dressed in the same color as, let's say, Miami-Dade, which is brown, tan, and brown, or the city in blue, and he is in all tan or all a different color, immediately you as an officer look at him and go, oh, it's another municipality, it's another agency that is coming in, and that person can go ahead and take you out, and you'll never know what happened. So that could happen. Plainclothes officers, when we get there, we pretty much, I can speak for the majority of the police department, you're going to go in. You're going to go in and take action. What happens is you're in plain clothes. That you don't take that into consideration. You go inside. Now you have the first backups to arrive, and they're in uniform or a SWAT team, and you are inside that school, and God forbid you don't have communication, which is a radio to advise everybody, advise SWAT, advise the secondary units. I'm in jeans, blue shirt, and a yellow cap, let's say. If you don't have that type of communication, you can be in a lot of trouble, because now you become a ping pong ball between the bad guy and the police department.
Yeah.
And you do more harm actually than good. But I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of the officers in plain clothes will throw on the jacket that says police, and they're going to go in. They're going to go in and do it. Okay.
Oh, that just brings up a lot of anxiety. I'm not gonna lie. It brings up a lot of anxiety because you have a group of people trying to do what is right, but at the same time not just putting themselves at risk, but potentially putting, let's say, God forbid, it's in a school, you're also putting the kids at risk of being caught in this crossfire.
Yes.
And this confusion.
Absolutely.
And this confusion.
Yeah, and you can tell the kids, you can do all the drills you want and tell the kids, okay, if you're in this wing, everybody runs towards this, or everybody goes into the class and it's in a lockdown. Okay? What if the person is able, in some of these newer schools, what if the person is able, because the old schools, remember, there were that big block, concrete, it's a little harder, but now you got a lot of that sheetrock and easy material to go through, and what if he starts shooting through there and you got all the kids stacked up in one room? I know that there's a company that came out with it's like a teepee, like an Indian teepee, or it's like a corner piece that goes inside the class, and it's able to safely keep, I don't know, it's like 20 kids or something, and you grab all the kids and you put them in there, and it's bulletproof, it's Kevlar, I believe, and so on and so forth. That can get expensive.
I was about to say that.
But now imagine this. If they don't have money for teachers, do you think they're going to buy the TP or buy the...
Of course not.
No. But they're going to come out and say, well, we're training, we're doing this, and we're doing that. And I know for a fact, Miami-Dade, City of Miami, all the big departments, and even the smaller departments are training for active shooters. And we're talking about schools. Think about a mall on a Saturday or on a Sunday. Now what? Because you have, malls all over the place, and I'm talking about large malls. And when they respond, everybody responds to active shooter. So you're going to have officers coming in from different directions, and now you got crossfire. So it becomes a nightmare. So my question is, after we discussed all this, my question to you is,
how are you going to defund
officers...
our police officers?
Exactly.
How are you going to defund our teachers? How are you going to just defund all of our first response?
Yeah.
Our first responders. It's impossible to do that. Yet we have just done that.
Yeah.
And the city voted unanimously for these cuts.
Oh, absolutely.
To cut back 100 first responders, of which 67 are police officers.
Yes.
Which
Yeah.
is atrocious.
So how many, and the question is, how many officers can you afford to fire now after hearing what we just discussed? And we're talking about that. What about the Dade County Youth Fair? And I can keep throwing, and now we have, the all these COVID-19 regulations and stuff. When it's all over, music concerts are coming back. Okay.
Well, the way that things are happening now, from what I've seen, and I'm actually participating in a very large festival on Saturday, in Key Biscayne at the Marina thing. It's a drive-in. Drive-in. You drive in with your car like you used to drive into the movies. You just drive in. There's limited capacity, obviously, because you can't fill in, that space. I believe they give you 6 feet around your vehicle to be able to dance or do whatever you want around your vehicle. But they will be enforcing social distancing. And I think it's the safest route to go right now with this whole pandemic thing, because I was just listening to the news this morning that schools in New York are starting to shut down again because of the recent spikes, because they opened about a month ago and now they have hot spots within the city. And like New York, we are a melting pot of cultures. And in our culture, it's very common, as well as many other cultures in the Caribbean, where we have multi-generational homes, where you have the grandparents and the grandkids and the parents or the aunts and the uncles. This is, a normal thing. It comes with our culture, with anyone really from the Caribbean. So it's I think we are headed for a new wave of this stuff, and it's scary. It is very, very scary to see what the position we are putting our teachers in, the positions that I felt it absolutely appalling that our teachers couldn't just continue teaching the way that they were doing. They were teaching from their classrooms. Like, the teachers actually had to go report to their classroom. They were doing this thing online.
Yep.
Everyone from the safety of their home.
I got a great story about that.
Everyone from their safety.
Great
of their
story.
Home. Now we're putting all these kids together the same way you're going to put all these people together at these events, and it's just, I think it's just a perfect combination for problems and for issues.
I'm going to tell you something. My golfing partner, who is also a retired police officer, his grandson, he's talking to the teacher, and they're doing the class, so on and so forth. Well, where he's sitting in his room, you can see the bed behind him. So the teacher did run a little bit too long, according to the grandparents. And he said, "Excuse me, teacher, I need to take a break." Yeah, you know where this is going. So the teacher says, "Got to wait a couple more minutes. We're almost done, but you have to wait." He goes, "Oh, no. I need to take a break. You need to take a break. And I am going to take a break right now." And went, and he laid down in bed and started to take a nap. Obviously, he got in trouble. Obviously, he got in trouble.
No, okay, let me tell you.
Because they know that teacher cannot reach in through the computer and grab him and put him back in the chair. And that was hilarious. He says, I need to take a break.
I have a friend of mine who's a teacher, and one of her kids, because she has this big screen, and all her, her kids are all up on her screen.
Yep.
And there was one that said reconnecting, but reconnecting for like a long time. Like, there was an internet issue. The kid actually had taken a screenshot and placed that as his icon, where it said reconnecting.
Yes.
And the kid was, just off playing video games.
Yes.
And the mom, punished him.
Of course.
Goes,
and they put backgrounds, different backgrounds. Like if they're in the room or in the house and they're really on the beach.
The kids are so much smarter.
I heard something last night that to me it made a lot of sense. They had 3 doctors from different countries. And here's their approach. Instead of testing everyone, test the elderly. Don't bombard these laboratories with testing for kids that are 12 and 14 and 15, because that's not who that virus is really affecting that much.
Yeah.
He says concentrate on the elderly, keep them, try to keep them safe, and then on top of that, all the therapeutics or whatever they call it is for the elderly, and if the kids get sick, they have it. But he says don't concentrate on the kids, and what happens is mom, dad, the 3 kids, everybody in the house gets tested, and they are bombarding all these labs and they cannot get the results out fast enough, and that's why people are taking a long time. Here's grandma and grandpa who happen to have a cold, and they don't know if they have the COVID, and they got to wait an X amount of time. I mean, my mother-in-law's one that had it, and she had to sit there and wait I don't know how long until my wife got online and said, oh, by the way, the results are there, but they never notified her. But, you know, that's part of this whole thing. And the question is this. They control the concerts, they control the movies, they control all that stuff. But there's stuff that they don't control. They don't control the riots at all. Can you imagine? That is a perfect storm. In the middle of a pandemic, yes.
Let's say you're at one of these protests, because you keep calling it a riot, but let's say you're at one of these protests.
It's a riot.
Let's say you're at one of these protests, because there are people that actually want to protest for an actual change.
They're not there.
They are there. They are there. I did not frequent one of these protests because I am a full-time caretaker for my father, who's ill. But I sure as hell promoted, said, hey, there's going to be this is going on. We're going to have a vigil this day. We're going to do this the other day. Because there's some of us that are not rioters, that are not bad people, that actually say, hey, you know, we just want some accountability.
And I totally agree. And what they need to do is separate from the others, so then their voice is not only heard. Not only heard, but respected.
Okay.
Because the respect is lost when the other, I call them knuckleheads, decide to burn and hurt people and kill people and do all that stuff.
Can you imagine? In the situation.
So do we agree on that?
We agree on that.
All right.
So do you imagine in the situation that we're at today, where as of October 1st, we have 67 less police officers in the city of Miami.
Correct.
One of these protests happens in the middle of a pandemic. Right now, we are blessed where our hospitals are not all at capacity, but a couple of months ago, all of our hospitals were at capacity because my father was in the hospital. And my father had to wait 2 days for someone to die so that they could sanitize a room and put my father in ICU. Okay? So literally all of the hospitals were at capacity. Can you imagine if in the middle of all this storm, we have an active shooter situation?
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
We have a ton of fatalities, and we have a ton of...
I'm going to go a step further. Let's say the Miami-Dade has 2,000 officers. Mm-hmm. Okay? And now 67, which is not Miami-Dade. Let's go with the city of Miami because that's the information that I got. So let's say the city of Miami has 1,000 officers, and 67 are going to get fired because of the budget cuts and the defund the police. Don't let them fool you. It has everything to do with defund the police, and it has nothing to do with budgetary problems.
So we just lost 7% of our staff.
Yeah, but it gets better. Because now you say, yeah, but we have 1,000 officers still on the job. Yeah. Let's say that quite a few, which had happened already, they decide to go, oh, they're rioting here in Miami. By the way, I'm retiring today. I'm out. So you got a certain percentage that go, bye-bye. I have the time to do it. I'm out of here. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to put my family through all this after 30 years of service. Okay? And run the risk of getting arrested and indicted and lose my job and lose my pension and lose everything. I'm out of here. So that's another percentage, correct? Mm-hmm. What about the percentage that are getting COVID, that are now quarantined for 14 days?
Yep.
And then after 14 days, they're still positive and they're still being quarantined and not able to go back on the job. Why don't we talk about those? So out of 1,000 cops, 67 get fired, a few retire, and the other ones are sick with COVID. How many officers do you have in the street? Good luck, Miami. Good luck, Miami-Dade. If you guys don't wake up and listen to what I've got to say, I'm telling you, this is not going to get any easier. And it's going to get to the point where you're going to have to take the law into your own hands when you got somebody breaking into your house, okay, or somebody trying to hurt one of your kids. And when you take the law into your own hands, again, good luck, because they will arrest you, they will indict you, and the state attorney will not hesitate to do it for political reasons, because they will sit there and play the political violin, and everybody buys it. They go, oh my God, they're doing such a great job. They don't know what's being done behind the scenes, because they will sit there and play these political games, and you will never find out. Remember the fox and the wolf?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they will show their teeth, and you would think they're smiling, okay? But I'm telling you right now, that's exactly what's going to happen. All these people that are out because of COVID and the police departments, because guess what? We're human. And people think cops do not get COVID.
No. And
do.
here's the thing, because you guys are first responders, you guys are more at risk. Same as
Fire.
Same as fire, same as hospital staff, as nurses and stuff, because you guys are on the front line.
Yes.
So you guys are exposed to a crap ton of people that we don't come in to counter. And you have a lot of people that actually quarantined.
Yep.
That actually stayed home.
Yep.
That did not frequent, all these busy places, which that's another show that we have to talk about, because I think it's the dumbest thing. A lot of these regulations make no sense at all whatsoever. To limit the
I got a good one on
transmission.
cigar shops. I go to cigar shops.
So
you
do
go
I.
to cigar shops. But I got a good one on cigar shops. And we can talk about that when we get back.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is I'll Call You Back, True Blue, unedited with Izzy Martinez and Cachita Lopez, courtesy of Cachita Latina Radio, here on CLR 154 on your Sirius XM dials. See you soon.
See you then.